everyone, and welcome to today's webinar. My name is Dean Kutsia, and I'm EPI's Chief Operations Officer. I'm glad you could join us today. Today's content is really going to cover the Certified Data Center Professional R25 version, which is a content update to the course that we offer, EPI's most widely recognized course. And I think as we go through it in a bit of detail, many of you would have joined the call today to see what those changes are. I think for those of us in the industry at the moment, we are seeing significant changes, particularly with workload power densities and AI workloads starting to emerge. And as a result, this is having a broad impact on the industry overall. So EPI updates its course content frequently. I think, though, that this is quite an important update and one that a lot of people in the industry, our current students and people who are interested in pursuing this course and certification, are going to see quite a lot of value from. So I think just sharing my presentation quickly. All right, well, look, I think just starting off as a quick introduction for those of you who may not be familiar with EPI or may not know much about our history, we've been in operation now for about 38 years. The company was originally founded in the United Kingdom, and we relocated to Singapore in 1999. We do, however, have 12 offices globally. So we've got a global presence, and we work with a lot of partners globally too. Many of you would know who our partners are or may have come through our partner network and would also have direct relationships with EPI. But we're in over 60 countries and 130 cities, covering most of the market and where the large data centers tend to be located these days. EPI actually provides a few key services, though. Obviously, most of you would be familiar with the training that we provide, and it's why you would have joined the call today. But we also provide facility audits and certifications for both design and construction on data centers, but operations too. And I think why this is quite important for everyone on the call to understand is that our trainers who not only deliver our training are also auditors too, but also we are exposed to a lot of the designs and construction approaches that we see in the industry. This puts EPI at the forefront of, I guess, design changes and adjustments that operators are making worldwide as they try and accommodate technology changes. And what this means is that the content updates that you see with EPI's course material in our framework is really based on what we're seeing happening in the industry. So this way you know that things are always current. And at the same time too, the trainers who then develop or deliver our course material are delivering it from the perspective of people who are actually seeing those changes in the field too on a day-to-day basis. EPI has won a lot of awards over the years. I think it stands as a testament to the quality of the services that we've provided too. Some of our customers, I guess everyone on the call, some of you may be from some of these companies that we're highlighting today, but given the fact that we've got a global presence, we're providing our services, both audit services and training services, to the biggest companies in the world and the largest operators, vendors, and hyperscalers too. So we're going to jump into the actual meat of the presentation today, which is going to be delivered by Mr. Otto de Roo. Now, Otto has been in the industry for over 30 years. He's been with EPI for a very long time too. He's been instrumental in the development of the course and its improvements over the years too. So he's very hands-on with things. Many of you on the call today may have already been trained by him over the years. It wouldn't surprise me in the slightest. So he's obviously very well known. And what we're going to do is hand over to Otto so he can run you through some of the changes in depth that have been made, or the adjustments that have been made in depth to the course material. A little bit of housekeeping before I hand over to Otto. We will run through a Q&A at the end of the presentation. So if you've got any questions, either technical or commercial, please feel free to ask them, either in the chat box or in the Q&A tab at the bottom, and we'll try and get to them. The presentation will be shared after the webinar's concluded. We do that as a standard. It's a question we often get. So please know we will circulate this material too. It'll be available to you, and it will also be made available on YouTube. So you will be able to access it again at a later stage if you would like to. So with that, I'd like to hand over to Otto. I'll stop sharing this side and you should be good to go.
Okay, thank you for the introduction, Dean. Well, welcome everybody. I already saw some names coming by that sounded very familiar. But of course, let's talk about the CDCP training. Obviously, this training is about data centers. And be aware that there are well over 12,000 data centers in the world. Maybe they have not counted every one of them. Maybe they have skipped over some of the smaller ones. But actually, as you may know, data center facilities is one of the fastest growing businesses in the world. Double-digit growth figures. So when we're looking at the CDCP, then as when you are involved with data centers, either as a data center operator, an end user, maybe a co-location customer, or even equipment vendors, the CDCP is actually a good source of information to learn more about data center facilities. So in this training, we will give you an overview of all the main setup and critical factors which might have an impact on the availability of your data center. The training is very practical with real life examples. And to be honest, you do not need to be a certified electrical or mechanical engineer to attend this training, because this training serves as the foundation for anybody involved in the data center business. More details on the data center design, including calculations, they will be addressed in the consecutive courses like CDCS and CDCE. And in this training, reference is mainly made to international standards. However, always your local standards apply and they take precedence. So data centers, they are called mission critical sites because they house the core IT infrastructure that will support an organization's critical business operations. And any disruption to these data centers can have a significant negative consequence to the business itself. So in the first module, we will begin by looking at how data centers fit into the broader business structure by understanding the different layers of operations involved. Organizations today cannot operate without having high performance ICT resources readily available, and downtime of the business's ICT support can have a significant impact on your organization's revenue and reputation. So therefore, a high available data center is needed to make your business successful. So we will also discuss the key reasons why a data center might go down and what could cause unavailability and how can we mitigate those risks. We will also explore different types of data centers that you might come across, each designed with a specific purpose and scope in mind. So this slide, for instance, gives you an example about edge data centers. Those are typical smaller data centers located near the logical edge of a network. So they are closer to the end user and the end devices they serve. Another content slide is this one, where you can see that that means that in the terms of the cost of downtime, that has already been studied by many reputable organizations. And we actually see that this cost of downtime is increasing year over year as IT becomes more and more important. So when you calculate the cost of downtime, you can actually start using this number also to create awareness by senior management, so that management is informed of what the potential risks are at stake in case of a data center outage, which can be very helpful to fund a high available data center project. You will find out that data centers are not just put together randomly. Yeah? There are well-established standards and guidelines for everything in the data center, from the overall facility to the smallest components. Some of the most important standards you are going to discover in this module. So we will go into the various international data center standards and guidelines, where we will point out their differences. We will also explain ratings, classes and tier level definitions, and we will also address the importance of national standards, as you must comply to any local regulations and requirements in order to be able to operate your data center. Deciding which standard or guideline to follow is typically the responsibility of the data center owner or operator. Most of the time, this decision depends on the scope of the data center operations. And there is, however, a growing trend in the industry to lean towards established standards. Well, now this slide gives you actually a quick overview on the design principles behind each rating levels, as mentioned in the TIA 942. If you want to dive deeper, you of course can consider buying the full standard, or maybe even better, taking the CDCP course. So after completing the CDCP exam, the CDCP is a design consultant course for the TIA 942 standard. So once we understand the standards, the next big question will be, where are we going to locate the data center? And choosing the right location is not just about finding a patch of land. It is actually a strategic decision that considers things like risk exposure, connectivity, infrastructure, and nowadays becoming more important, the availability of electrical power. Yeah? We will go over some of the key factors that will influence site selection and how they can impact long-term performance and reliability. After that, we will break down the data center into various areas and rooms. We are going to explain the purpose of the computer room, UPS room, security room, etc., etc. So we will show for each of these rooms and areas what is their role and why do you need them in order to keep your data center operations running smoothly. So it is not just natural hazards that you need to worry about, like flooding or hurricanes, but man-made hazards are just as important to consider. You will see a few of those examples on this slide, but of course the list doesn't stop here. Here we have an example of one of the data center rooms. In this case, it is the staging area, where the staging process involves acclimating and testing the equipment before it is moved into the production environment. Now, let's move from site selection into one of the more physical design elements inside the data center. And let's start with the raised floor. Be aware that almost close to 80% of the data centers are using a raised floor. Of course, many hyperscalers who are prominent in the news, they might not have a raised floor infrastructure, but still a lot of data centers are today building a data center with a raised floor. So the raised floor is more than just a platform to cover cabling. Yeah, it is actually a critical part of airflow management. It is used in well over 70 to 80% of the data centers, and we are going to look at the main types of floorboards that you are likely to encounter. We will look on how much weight they can handle. We will also go into general installation rules to keep the race floor safe and functional. Also, ramps and landing platforms are important, especially when considering accessibility and equipment movement into the computer room itself. We will also touch on suspended ceilings and why they are often used in combination with a raised floor to support the airflow control. So this slide actually demonstrates the various components which make up a raised floor structure. And here we have some general guidelines on the raised floor installation. So let's lighten up the data center. Obviously, we also need light. Lighting is not just about visibility. It plays a very important role in safety, maintenance activities, and of course, choosing the right lighting system will also enhance energy efficiency. So we will talk about how light is measured, what the data center standards say about light requirements, but we will also go into the location of light fixtures, how to avoid shadowing in critical areas, and of course we will cover emergency lighting. There are of course specific local regulations for how and where emergency lighting should be installed, but in addition to this, we will also give you some specific requirements for data centers to ensure a safe evacuation and continued visibility during, for instance, power outages. So this slide shows some of the light strength definitions and how to measure the light strength. Here we have a slide on standards, defining the requirements of lighting infrastructures in buildings. Of course, we will go into the light requirements as it is also specified by the TIA 942 data center standard. Well, actually, the largest module of CDCP, and I'm not joking, it's a very long module. It takes more than 3 hours. That is all about the power infrastructure. Because as you know, the power infrastructure is one of the most critical pillars of any data center. So we will begin with the role of sustainability in modern facilities. Environmental sustainability should actually be high on the agenda. We will also show you how to include microgrids to support resilience and efficient power usage. We will go into to the use of renewable energy. We will also discuss battery energy storage systems, and we will even explain the potential use of small or micro modular nuclear reactors for data centers. They are not operational yet, but I do think that they will become operational maybe already in the next five years. Of course, after that, we will move into the technical side, exploring the power distribution chain and how redundancy is built in to ensure uptime. From there, we will cover how to manage power distribution properly inside the data center, and then we will dive into an often overlooked area. Think about the criticality of grounding, and we will also go into the concept of common mode noise. So, oh, I'm going the wrong way. Anyway, we will also address the PDU form factors and IP protection levels. Then we will go into the key critical units of measures relevant to the data center power quality. Next, we will look at the differences between the UPS technologies so that you will know when to use which type of UPS, and we will also include some energy efficient UPS options. From there, we will explore battery types, which will, of course, cover the most standard ones used, VRLA or SLA batteries, but we have also included lithium-ion batteries and other types. And we will also show you the importance of battery monitoring. And finally, we will look at thermographic scanning. This is a powerful, non-intrusive way to detect potential failures before they might happen in your data center. So the training will cover different modes of operations of a microgrid, like grid-tied, island-able, and off-grid operating modes. And we will also cover the advantages and challenges when implementing a microgrid for your data center. We will also explain various electrical components that you will find in your data center. Like here we have an example on the purpose and working of a static transfer switch. Well, there are some basic electrical formulas that will be mentioned in the training itself. And maybe for some of you, unfortunately, you also need to memorize them for your examen. But here we have an example on how to calculate the difference between the real power and the apparent power. As mentioned earlier, the CDCP training will also go into various UPS technologies. This slide actually shows you the modular UPS. Also in CDCP, we are showing various types of batteries where we explain the pros and cons of each type of battery. And as I also mentioned, we are going to discuss thermographic scanning, which is a technique that allows you to measure the temperature without physically touching any of the components of the electrical systems. So, next up, and that is not very noticeable that everybody is aware of this, and that is EMF. Something that is often invisible, but actually quite important, are electromagnetic fields, or as they call it, EMF. So we will start by understanding the two main types of electromagnetic fields and how they are measured. Then we will cover the relevant standards, the industry norms, and best practices designed to keep EMF levels safe and within acceptable limits. We will also identify common sources of EMF within the data center, from power cabling to electrical systems. And finally, we will discuss practical ways to minimize EMF exposure and electromagnetic interference. So, as just mentioned, we will cover standards relevant to potential EMF issues in the data center, where we also will give you some very important values to consider when it comes to magnetic fields. This slide is actually illustrating what materials can be used to effectively shield EMF. Another fundamental piece of the data center infrastructure are actually the equipment racks. Actually, you will commonly see two main styles of equipment racks. We have the 2-post and the 4-post racks. For 4-post racks, there are several variations, each having their own specific features and limitations. We will also cover the common rack sizes that you will encounter. Think about width, depth, and heights, and how to choose the right rack dimensions to ensure equipment compatibility. Security is another big concern, so we will review the types of locks and access controls that can help you to protect your equipment. And finally, we will look into different options for power distribution within the rack, like power rails and power strips. However, a lot of people call them also rack PDUs. So we are going to explain how racks are designed, how equipment gets mounted inside the rack, and what are the dimensions that we need for our computer or server racks based on the type of equipment. Of course, we are also covering the rack height. There is a trend going on that equipment racks are becoming taller in order to save computer room space. And we are also going to discuss the pros and cons of higher equipment racks. So, to be honest, when you are asking data center managers, what is your biggest technical challenge, most of the time they will come back with cooling. Because one of the biggest challenges that data centers face today is managing the heat loads. Equipment gets more powerful, so it also generates more heat. So in this module 9, we will start by looking what are the current trends in heat generation, why this poses significant problems for mission critical sites. Then we will explore the different types of air conditioning systems available. We will weigh their pros and cons, and depends of course very much on the climate your data center is located in, and of course your data center facilities cooling needs. We will also cover cooling units in general and compare cooling approaches using raised floor or non-raised floor environments. For high density equipment, special cooling techniques become essential, and we will review several of those methods, including, of course, liquid-based cooling. One widely used best practice nowadays is hot and cold aisle containment, which will help you to avoid the mixing of hot and cold air and will make your cooling more effective and efficient. We will discuss, of course, the pros and cons of hot and cold aisle containment. And finally, we will touch on some innovative solutions like seasonal thermal energy storage, which also can improve energy efficiency over time. So, when cooling ICT equipment in a data center, it is important to know what is the required temperature in front of the equipment air intake. Of course, we will discuss those temperatures which are defined by S-ray in great detail. Obviously, we will also talk about the level of humidity recommended and allowed by S-ray. Obviously, we will cover chillers in the CDCP training, both air-cooled and water-cooled chillers. We are going to give examples of various cooling solutions, like here the wall flow cooling, or sometimes people call them wall vent cooling, which is actually a relative new concept. Also, as I mentioned, liquid cooling, both immersion cooling as well as direct-to-chip cooling is covered by the CDCP content. So this is an example of a slide from the direct-to-chip liquid cooling subject. Well, to be honest, water might not be the first thing that comes to mind when thinking about data centers, but it plays a crucial role. So we will discuss why water is so important, especially for cooling systems and other critical functions. Since water supply interruptions can cause serious issues. So having a reliable water backup supply is essential. So we will look at where backup water systems are typically installed, and we will explore some of the options available for creating these backup setups to ensure continuous operations. One of the most common ways to provide backup water is by using large water storage tanks. And of course, we will go into the various uses of water storage tanks in the data center facilities. Actually, very often underestimated, but actually the data center network is just as important as power and cooling. Because to be honest, when the network goes down, this will result in unavailability of the data center services to the end user. So whether the power is going down, or the network is going down, or the cooling, it will result into unavailability. So in this module, we are going to focus on the backbone of data center communication, and that is actually the network cabling infrastructure. So we will start with key planning considerations to keep in mind when you are designing or upgrading your cabling systems. Then we will compare the main types of network cabling, both copper and fiber. We will discuss their advantages and limitations. And we will also look at standards, like the TIA 942 network topology, which helps you to ensure high availability on the network. Also, cable testing and verification of the cable installation are covered by CDCP. And of course, we will also share some different options for connecting multiple sites. So, as I mentioned, we will explain different types of optical fibers. We will go into details on both multimode and single mode fiber as shown on this slide. We are also going to explore how to build network diversity and redundancy to prevent single points of failure. This is actually a high-level overview of a rated 4 network infrastructure. So fire safety is absolutely critical in data centers. So even a small incident can cause major disruption and could impact human safety. Do not forget, human safety is always the most important thing, even more important than IT equipment or data. So we will start by looking at the most common causes of fire in the data center, so that we understand the potential risks. Then we will cover the key requirements for fire suppression systems and the applicable standards. We will also explore fire detection technologies and the different types of fire suppression systems, both gas-based and non-gas-based, that are used to protect a typical data center. We also need to understand the various classes of fire and the appropriate handheld extinguisher that needs to be used for the different classes of fire to ensure personal safety. And finally, we will review important signage, safety regulations, and other regulatory requirements to ensure compliance to your local fire codes. Here is a slide showing a water mist fire suppression system. To be honest, it is basically a much more refined version of a sprinkler system. We will also describe the various types of gases that can be used in your data center. We will cover actually both halocarbon and inert gas-based systems. A secure data center is not just about firewalls and cyber security. A secure data center starts with physical protection. So we will look at the tools and systems used to secure the facility, and think about locks, cameras, parameter controls. Then we will cover safety features designed to protect people inside the facility, like proper signage, emergency exits, and emergency procedures. So this slide shows some examples on how to physically secure the data center. And here we have a slide on physical safety. To ensure that the data center is safe to operate goes beyond just designing and installing the right safety features, but it also includes an emergency response plans and safety awareness by the people who are working in the data center. So finally, the last module of CDCP covers a key challenge in running any data center, and that actually is monitoring. Yeah. So with so many critical systems in place, having the right monitoring tools available is essential. Not only to detect issues, but also to prevent issues before they escalate. So we will begin with the basic requirements of a data center monitoring system. We will also explain how systems like the EMS or environmental monitoring system, BMS, building management system, and DCM, data center information management systems, each play a certain role. Yeah? Specific risks like water leaks are also a major concern, so we will cover in this module also how those water leak detection systems are actually working. And finally, we will touch on notification systems, ensuring that the right people get alerted at the right time when something goes wrong. So as mentioned, we will explain in the CDCP training how a water leak detection system works. We will talk about pad-based systems, but also cable-based systems. And in this slide, we are showing the requirements for a proper notification system. By the way, this is also the last slide of the CDCP Release 25 sneak peek. Oh, yeah, I almost forgot this. In order to become a certified data center professional, you also need to pass the examen. And to give you some background on the examen, it's a closed book examen with 40 multiple choice answers. Yeah. Which is actually quite nice, because with multiple choice, the right answers are already given. You only need to pick the right one. You will have 1 hour to finalize the examen, and the passing mark is 27 correct answers out of those 40 questions. So even when you're making 13 mistakes, you will still be able to pass the exam. Yeah. This actually ends my side of the story. So let's go back to Dean. Go ahead, Dean. I will stop the sharing.
Excellent. Thanks for that, Otto. Just before we jump into questions, I wanted to focus on a few areas relating to everyone's career development. And I think it's important to emphasize the benefit that everyone sees when they attend the CDCP and they achieve certification too. So one of the things I like to often say to people is we don't teach people how to be mechanical engineers or electricians. What we really focus on is teaching them the why. Why do we do things the way we do things? And for so many people who are new to the industry, they often look at the industry thinking people have lost their marbles and they don't know why we take the approach that we do. But it's important to understand that everything is driven by best practice standards. There are numerous standards in the industry, everything from, standards around how equipment needs to be manufactured to how we build out an entire data center. And it's important for people to understand the data center as an ecosystem to be effective within their role. So the CDCP is a fantastic technical foundation for everyone in the industry. And while it's a technical course, and a lot of our students tend to be people in technical roles, it has a lot of benefits for people who are also in commercial roles, because it helps you understand, again, the data center from a technical perspective, but also helps you position your products and services accordingly too. So for many of those of you that need to, secure a funding perhaps from, your line management or your organization. There are multiple reasons, why your employer should perhaps assist with funding your CDCP or any of the other courses that we do offer too, which we'll touch on briefly, but also why it's also always worthwhile investing in your continued education too. So I'll give you an example though of what I mean by how we teach people about the why as much as the how. And I think I'll use the TA 942 scope as an example. So Otto touched on the TA 942. We focus on a lot of the different standards that have an impact on the design and construction and how we operate data centers too. But the 942 is a perfect example. So you'll see that the 942 scope has a broad amount of elements that we need to cover. Now, you might be a specialist that is an electrical engineer or a mechanical engineer, and you think to yourself, well, do I really need to be that worried about safety or fire detection and suppression systems or facilities monitoring? However, the reality is that the better you understand these different elements within that ecosystem, the more effective you become within your role. Because again, we're building an entire facility, and you need to be able to speak the same language as everyone else that you're dealing with too. The site location can have an impact on architectural or electrical design, mechanical design, telecommunication installations, and so forth. So the better you understand the data center as a whole, the more effective you become in being able to deliver your respective skill set. And it just makes you overall a far more effective employee, and it broadens your understanding and knowledge of the industry too. And that's why the CDCP is so effective. Now, if you consider that, almost 80% of the data centers that are being constructed globally now, according to research, are being designed around the TA 942 standard. That doesn't mean that everyone's certified for TA 942, although many do. We conduct those certifications. It's simply a case of that it's a baseline standard that many consultants and large operators are using as a foundation to design and construct their facilities. If you're familiar with these standards, and you're always operating from a best practice framework, again, it makes you far more effective with regards to your day-to-day job. I think there are also additional commercial benefits that you see when you conduct training that EPI provides. Obviously, as I've covered in detail, it's always aligned with best practice standards, but the important thing is that everyone's talking the same language. And this provides a huge advantage too. The training is also quite practical, and it does also help upskill a lot of new entrants. We're seeing a lot of new people come into the industry, people who may have a lot of experience and may think, well, do I really get any benefit from doing what appears to be an introductory course? I can say by all means. Again, I come with a design construction background. I've seen in the industry people who come in and they've been electrical engineers or mechanical engineers and 20 years experience, and they think this is crazy. Why do we build these things the way we do? So this sort of training is suitable for all levels of experience. It also leads to general cost savings. If you're reducing risk across an organization by providing adequate training to staff, it has significant advantages. And we also see improved performance from teams as a whole. The CDCP is also a foundational course where you can then attend courses that will provide you with more advanced training. We've got the Certified Data Center Specialist. That's a 3-day course. If you've completed and passed the CDCP exam, that becomes an option for you. We focus more on technical specifications and how to size up various plant and equipment in a lot more detail. And then beyond that, we've got the Certified Data Center Expert, which is a 5-day course. And we actually looked at the whole project lifecycle of a data center from start to finish. Far more intense, but again, it provides an opportunity for you to gradually build your skills and build on top of the CDCP as a technical foundation. We also cover the network cabling design professional, the Certified Network Cabling Design Professional course, which is a 2-day course. Obviously, data centers, there's a lot of interconnection. There's a little bit more involved when it comes to interconnection and networking within a data center. And obviously, it provides quite a lot of value for people who are in this space. We do provide some other courses, which I'll touch on briefly. We've got our foundational course, which is the DCFC. We've got the design build courses, which we obviously just run through. We do run extensive maintenance and operation courses too, though. It's always beneficial for people who take these courses to start with the CDCP or have the CDCP. It's not a pre-requirement to take these courses, but given the size of the facilities and the complexity involved in having to operate data centers these days, there's a lot of value in these courses. The CDFOS is the operations specialist. That's focused more at people who are on the floor and tools in hand. The FOM, we focus more on policies and procedures. So that's your facilities operation manager. Both are 3-day courses. Extremely valuable and always good to have a few people within your organization that are certified for it. Is the data center environmental sustainability specialist. That's a 2-day course. And what we do is we try and train, well, we train you up to operate the data center from a more environmental sustainability focused perspective, which we look at all sorts of things, waste management, and help you improve with your reporting up to senior management too, also under a lot of pressure when it comes to sustainability requirements these days. We have some risk-based courses. The Certified Data Center Risk Professional, ideal for people who are having to deal with constant expansions on site or perhaps equipment refurbishers, and also the migration specialists. These are challenging when you're having to either relocate customer infrastructure or you need to assist customers who are going to be relocating into your data center. These are, again, very high-risk projects, and there's immense value in receiving adequate training for it. Lastly, we've got standards and compliance training. The CDCP is actually a prerequisite for the CTDC, which is the Certified TA 942 Design Consultant. As I said earlier, a lot of data centers are being designed with the TA 942 standard in mind. The CTDC is a great course for people to attend and really wrap their head around the TA 942 standard in a lot of detail. And we do train a lot of consultants in the industry. The other 2 courses are more advanced for internal auditors and lead auditors. Generally, the CTDC, though, has an immense amount of value for consultants. Moving on to accreditation. This was already covered in some detail by Otto, but we actually have all our certifications provided by Exxon. So it's a third party. It's a completely impartial process. We're not printing the certificates in a kitchen. It's actually coming through a remote proctored process that's managed by Exxon for us. So it's a global accreditation, and one of the reasons why our certifications are valued so highly. Again, it's totally independent and impartial from EPI, which means that the examinations have some real weight to them. They operate under an ISO scheme, but they have certified over 2 million people, and they focus on IT and data center in the IT and data center industry specifically. So this is why the relationship with Exxon is so important for us, but it's also been so good for our students. With regards to delivery, look, all the training comes with training, an ebook, and the exam. We're delivering in multiple languages. The languages are listed on the screen. We've actually added Thai and Bahasa to the recent language delivery too. So we're consistently expanding the languages the courses are delivered in, trying to make it available to as many people worldwide as we can. There's 3 delivery formats. Instructor-led training is when you attend a class in a classroom, a live training environment. Virtual is the exact same thing, same content. We just deliver it virtually. So it'd be over a video call like this as opposed to in a classroom. And then lastly, there's training on demand, which is access to EPI's EPI Academy platform. You've got 12 months access, and you can complete the training at your own speed. So the CDCP is available to everyone through those 3 different formats. And look, why EPI? Look, many of you do know us. We are the first and the largest, though. We've been doing this for a while. Our certifications are recognized globally, and they do hold quite a bit of weight when it comes to companies that need to bid for projects. They often need to have a certain number of certified staff on hand or under employment. And likewise, even when it comes to job applications in specific markets, our certifications make it a lot easier to secure attractive roles. We are a data center expert. We're also conducting site audits, as I mentioned earlier, and I think that's a real point of differentiation for us. The trainers who are training you are people from the industry and have been in the industry for a long time and seen a lot. They obviously train a lot of people, but they're conducting site audits, so they often see what's happening with newer facilities that are being constructed too. That means that while you're going through your courses, you might have very technical questions related to projects that you're working on or things that you're seeing out there in the real world, and our trainers would often be able to provide guidance on the approach you can use to solve those challenges and issues. We're vendor neutral, so we don't align specifically with one vendor. We look at things from an industry perspective. Accreditation we've covered. We also have a well-defined development methodology based on our own data center competence framework. And again, things are based heavily on international standards, which is imperative and one of the real value adds. And also, look, we've been doing it for a while. It's not 37 years anymore. It's now 38 years. So we've been around for a while, and I think as a result, it's one of the reasons why so many people have so much confidence in our certifications and our training. So with that, I wanted to leave sufficient time for questions. There are quite a bunch that I saw come through, so we'll get through as many as we can. We'll run questions for the next 20 minutes. Just so that everyone knows, if we don't get to your questions, we always do respond. We'll respond in writing afterwards. One of the most common questions always is, will the materials be shared? Yes, the presentations will be shared. The materials will be shared too. So slide decks plus videos will all be uploaded. So with that, I'll jump into the questions that we've got. So Otto, I'll flick some over to you, and I'll probably address a few as we start to go through them. The first question we got was from Manfred. He wanted to know, is the course endorsed by Skills Future? The answer is yes. So there is SSG funding for our courses. Drop us a note if you'd like a little bit more information on it, and we'll put you in touch with Leon, who's our chap in Singapore that assists our clients there. Sandeep wanted to say the course is very good for data center professionals, but he'd like EPI to add some animation videos of this course and some checklists in this course. Sandeep, we're always happy to get feedback from students and people who attend the course. If you could pop us an email through with some of the additional content you'd love to see in the course in future, it's something we can look at. Like I said, we update our courses frequently, so something we can address. The next question was from Alex. He wanted to know, I'd like to ask if the exam will be written or on the end of the second day of training. Otto, you generally conduct a lot of the exams sometimes with the students. I think best if you jump into that one.
Well, sometimes, but it is actually quite rare. With the classroom training, there might be a written test, of course, multiple choice, at the end of day two. However, I would say almost 90% of the examen will be done online on the Accent platform. And that does not necessarily need to be done on day two, but I always advise to do it as quick as possible, because the next day you are with your own projects and all the content might leave your brain. So after a month, you might have forgotten maybe 50% of it.
No, that's why we always encourage people to try and take their exam as soon as possible. Right, the next one was from Mohammed. He wanted to know what standards being followed for on-site power generation and microgrid for power requirements.
That is one of the challenges nowadays. There are not too many standards. It is also very difficult to connect some legacy systems to the power control systems of a microgrid. Of course, there is a lot of work going on, and of course, some vendors, they will say that they only their equipment will comply to the standards, but that is not really, as far as I know, and please correct me if I'm wrong, a real microgrid standard that covers all the aspects.
Thanks for that. We had a question from Syed who asked if we can explain the differences between Tier 3 and Tier 4, which I guess is rated 3 and rated 4. I think before you jump in, Otto, important to stress that this is covered in great detail in the actual CDCP course material. But Otto, maybe you can give us just a quick one-line sentence on the difference.
Well, actually, on a very high level, Tier 3, rated 3, and Tier 4 are rated 4, at least for power and cooling, are more or less identical. Rated 3 means that your data center is concurrently maintainable, so that your data center never has to go down in order to do maintenance on the infrastructure. And the rated 4 data center means that the data center is fault tolerant. So any component in your data center can have a failure without affecting the critical load of the data center.
Thanks for that. We got a question from Praveen. He wanted to know what's the cost of doing the CDCP in India, and are any renewals required? So look, with that, Praveen, we've got an office in India. You can contact them directly. Please feel free to reach out to us if you'd like us to make an introduction for you. All our certifications require a recertification every 3 years. And the reason for that is because the content in our courses is updated frequently. the sneak peek today is an example of those updates. So as technology improves, obviously the course material is updated to include those changes, and it's important to keep people up to date. Also, one of the reasons why the certifications are so highly valued is because they're current. So employers trust that if someone has got a valid CDCP certification, that their training is relevant and current, and it isn't necessarily based on older methodologies that might have changed as changes to the industry have occurred. Next question is from Mohammed. He wanted to know, are lithium batteries used in the data center? The answer is yes. And what are the firefighting procedures for it? Again, I think that would be something that would be covered in detail during the CDCP course itself. But that is something that we would cover in the course. So fire systems are covered in great length during the actual course itself. The next question was from Kima. I hope I pronounced that correctly. In your opinion, what is the main risks faced by data centers today, and the most frequent and dangerous ones that we must mitigate as CDCP professionals? I think we can have a go at that one.
Yeah, it depends very much on where you are living. Yeah, in some countries there is a high risk of an earthquake. In other countries you don't. In some countries there might be some issues with drones attacking the data center. Think about countries at war and other countries don't. But of course, when we are talking about a major challenge, which normally will not cause any downtime, but that is actually the challenge to comply to the increasing heat load that is coming from your IT equipment.
Perfect, thanks. I've seen a lot of questions from people asking if our courses are available in their respective countries or regions. To everyone, our courses are available globally. We've got a large partner network. We're in over 60 countries. We've got 12 offices globally. The UAE, United States, Europe, we're all over the place. We also offer virtual training, and we deliver training electronically too via the TOD platform. So please don't think that your location you wouldn't have access to the training because of your location. Pop us a mail and we'll put you in touch with the local resource. So that should address a lot of the questions we've been getting on that. We've got another question here from Shah. What is the basic difference between uptime certification and CDCP or EPI certification program? I think it's important to emphasize that uptime certifications are based on the uptime guidelines, and a lot of their emphasis is on electrical and mechanical standards. The CDCP is far more comprehensive because we're focusing on a broader scope, and it's one of the reasons why we have the CDCP as a technical entry and foundational course for more advanced courses like the CDCS and the CDCE. So those are the I suppose the shortest summary explaining it. Otto, I don't know if you want to add anything else specifically about it, or covers it. Yep.
Yeah.
Good. The next one is for Mohammed. He's getting a scholarship or exam voucher. It will be good to get ahead in my career. Sure thing. EPI is running a scholarship program at the moment. Please feel free to contact us via our website. There are so you might be eligible for it, is what I'm trying to say, getting all tongue-tied. Have a look at our website and please contact us. You'll see criteria on the site itself as part of the application process. Javid wanted to know, should we eliminate fuel tanks from data center site designs due to associated health and safety standards? Any quick answer there?
No, I think, well, currently not. Yeah, most of the backup power is still diesel or gas generators. And of course, to be able to continue operations, fuel tanks are still needed. And by the way, there is not a particular safety issues at stake. When you're going to fill up your car at a gas station, there might also be a potential safety issue. Yeah.
Perfect. Rasmus asked, will hyperscale data center designs be covered in the CDCS course? The short answer to that is yes. CDCP, CDCS, CDCE, we cover hyperscale. It's important to remember that hyperscale is more of a commercial model than just a purely technical design. So it is something that we cover in great length. Obviously, it has a lot of the facilities being constructed are hyperscale facilities. So rest assured, we're covering it in detail through all the course material. Dung wanted to know is, does EPI support Vietnamese? Not in Vietnamese, but we are looking to deliver in Vietnamese shortly. So we're working with partners for local language delivery, and we are looking at adding it to the TOD platform in 2026. So it is coming. We have got local representatives in Vietnam and also partners. So please stay in touch with them and they can keep you updated. Next, we got two questions. How is CDCP knowledge applied day to day from an operations perspective? I've got my view on that, Otto, but maybe you want to give yours first.
Well, of course, all the knowledge can be used on a day-to-day basis. However, when we are looking at typical data center day-to-day operations, be aware that there are also other trainings available, like CDFOS and CDFOM, which will go more into the procedures and processes that are used in day-to-day operations. But of course, all the knowledge that you gain from CDCP can be used during your day-to-day work.
Perfect. And another question from Hung. He wanted to know, why is CDCP considered the most popular data center certification? That's simply because we've sold more of them. I think it's just on pure numbers. We've delivered more of the CDCP training to the world than just about all the other training providers combined. And it's not even by a small factor. It's by a massive, massive margin. Yeah. So we are the largest trainer in the world. And it's one of the reasons why the certification has achieved such high recognition. The next question was from Danielle. She wanted to know, how long is the qualification valid for? All our certifications have a 3-year validation, or 3-year period. They're valid for 3 years, after which you need to recertify. Recertification does not require you to attend an entire course. What we do is we send you the workbook and the exam. So any adjustments or improvements or changes to the material, you'll be able to go through it, and then you can.
And by the way, once you have done the CDCP training, and you will continue with CDCS, you do not need to recertify for CDCP anymore, because then you are getting a level higher on CDCS level.
100% correct. Likewise with the CDCE. If you continue to advance up the ladder, you never need to recertify all your certs, only the most advanced cert to stay current. Eric wanted to know the exams online. Yes, all the exams are remote proctored and all online. If I have CDFOM, can you still go for CDCP? Absolutely. There's no restriction on that whatsoever. You'll actually benefit immensely by doing the CDCP, because it'll give you a nice, strong technical understanding of design and construction approaches too. So you'll benefit from it. Can you enroll in CDCS without the CDCP? No. The requirement is that you pass the CDCP and achieve certification for it. The reason for that is that we build on the CDCP as a technical foundation. So it needs to be viewed as a certification pathway, and making sure that you understand the fundamentals of best practice approaches that we like to use before you attempt the more advanced courses. We've got, I think, another 5 minutes for questions. We've obviously had a lot come through. As I said, to those of you who we haven't responded to, we will respond to you over an email, so you will hear back from us. But I think let's wrap up in, say, 5 minutes time. We can go through a few more. Other than CDCP, do other courses like CDFM have an expiry? It's a 3-year expiry on all EPI courses. So every 3 years you need to recertify. Could you summarize the difference between CDCP and CDCP R25? Also, have you updated TI 942 as the baseline? Look, the TI 942 went through a recent standard adjustment. It moved from the 942B to 942C that occurred last year. Obviously, any adjustments to the standards, we then would update our course material accordingly. And this is why it's so important to recertify, because as the standards adjust, our training adjusts and best practices adjust. So look, Otto's covered in length some of the newer content that's been added on the CDCP R25. It'll be in the presentation, and again through the webinar, which will be shared on YouTube again. What else have we got here? A facilities manager, Bazumi, has asked, he's a facilities specialist at the University of Rhodes. He looks after data center facilities and represents IT department projects like renovations. Which course do you think he should start with? If you're new to the industry, CDCP is fantastic, particularly if you've got a strong technical role. We have got a foundational certificate. It's called the Data Center Foundation Certificate, which is aimed at people who have limited technical experience or exposure. But the CDCP is a fantastic entry point for most people in the industry, and one of the reasons why it's the most popular course globally when we talk about data center training specifically. Okay, let me, sorry, I'm just making my way through these questions. There's a good question here from Abdel. He wants to know if there's more emphasis on emerging technologies such as liquid cooling and edge data centers, and how have you actually integrated a lot of this into the newer training? I know you covered some of that during your presentation.
Yeah,
You can
yeah,
expand
we
on that
will
a little bit.
go as the CDCP is, of course, more or less basic training. Of course, edge data centers and liquid cooling will be covered, both direct to chip cooling. But as I also read in some questions, we will also cover one-phase and two-phase immersion cooling. So they will be covered in CDCP.
The next question was from Carr. He wanted to know what will happen if he does not recertify after 3 years. Look, the only thing is your certification's expired. We require you to maintain your certification. After it expires, you would then need to attend the course. Again, recertification doesn't require you to attend a course. Otherwise, you need to attend the course, or you need to attempt your CDCS so that you don't have to recertify. Is CDCP a prerequisite to get CDFOS or FOM? Absolutely not. It's recommended simply because it'll make your life easier, but it's not a requirement. Does EPI have plans to support it in the Arabic language? We are looking at it, but towards the back end of 2026. But it's not 100% yet. It's coming down to a few things we need to look at with regards to internal support systems. We are trying to support more languages though. So something that we are planning for the future. If I pass CTDC, then do I need to still be recertified CDCS? Yes. And that's important to understand. The CTDC is a different certification to CDCS. The CDCP is a requirement for the CDCS, and it's a requirement for CTDC. And the reason for that is that the CDCS, as I mentioned earlier, builds on the technical foundations that the CDCP provides. But the CTDC covers a lot of concepts that require a good, strong fundamental understanding of the data center as a whole. And it's one of the reasons why we have it as a prerequisite, because the worst thing that could happen is you attend the CTDC, which can be quite a challenging course, and you don't understand certain concepts that you would have had a better familiarity with if you had a CDCP under your belt. So that's the reason why we have it as a prerequisite. I think with that, we can actually move towards wrapping up. So Otto, thanks again for running everyone through this today. I'd like to thank everyone who attended today too. We had a fantastic turnout. It's excellent to see. There were a lot of questions that came through, and we really appreciate those too. Again, the courses are offered globally. We can help you anywhere. If you've got any questions, please feel free to reach out to our team. You can contact us through our website or LinkedIn or whichever channel suits you the best. And yeah, we'll be in touch with those of you that have had questions we haven't had a chance to get to yet. So thank you, everyone, and
Hey,
thanks
Dean.
again for attending.
Dean, before you log off,
Oh, of
can you
course, I nearly
please?
forgot. I nearly forgot. Oh
Yeah.
my, that is very true. Hang on a sec. Let me just run the so we've got a lucky draw. So for those of you that are still on the call, we're going to run that prize. So Paige, while I'm busy doing that, do you just want to let everyone know what that prize will be?
Yeah. Yeah, I think during when we sent out the invitation, we also offered a lucky draw where the prize is the full-blown CDCP TOD, the training on demand. You get access to the full CDCP course on the EPI Academy platform. It's an e-learning course, so you get 12 months access. You get the ebook which you can download, and you will also get or receive the exam voucher where you can schedule your exam when you're ready.
Perfect, thanks. And I've just run a little Excel. Yep, here we go. So Kevin, Brian, Abawang, I hope I pronounced that correctly. They won the lucky draw. So we'll
Do
be
you
in
mind
contact with you,
typing
Kevin.
out the name, Dean?
Sure. 1 second. Make sure I get it right. I hope I spell your name correctly,
Oh,
Kevin.
he's
Please do.
already
He
written
said
thank you
already,
in the
thank
chat.
you.
Ah, very good. Good stuff. I'm glad to see you still on. So there you go. You made my life easier. Thanks, Kevin. And look, again, thank you to everyone for joining again today. We appreciate your time.
Okay.
Thanks all.
Bye-bye.
Thank you, everyone.